County Club, for those of you who haven't been here, we're so excited that you're here. My name is Pita. I'm a marketing and branding consultant, and I've had the opportunity to work with Marge over the last few years, and she has really helped me to transform my life and my business. I take companies, particularly nonprofits and family-owned businesses, from chaos and uncertainty to peace, harmony, and prominence, and I do that through marketing and through culture development, and really beginning to showcase who and what they are. And that line, taking people from chaos and uncertainty to peace, harmony, and prominence, that's something that Marge helped me to come up with. And that's really what she does. She really helps you look at yourself in a whole different way. She encourages all of her clients to look deep and really find what is their magic, what is their secret, what makes them special and unique. And that's something that she's done for me. I was so lucky when Marge came into my life a few years ago. I remember the first time I sat down with her, I was so excited. I was just starting my consulting business. I had been in the advertising agency for 17 years. I ran with my ex-husband. I was going with all the things that I do and all the services that I offer. And we met at Panera, and I was so proud of myself seeing, I'm going to meet with this great woman. I hadn't known her. I had met her at an event, and she wanted to get together, and I thought I'd show her all the things that I was, do and I could offer, right? So I hand her the piece of paper, and she takes a look at it, and she's kind of looking down at it, and I'm like looking at her face, and I'm thinking, uh-oh, what's wrong, And I'm like, I said, what? I said, what, is it too much? And she's like, nope. She's like, it's way. And I was like, oh. So there my bubble was burst. And I was like, okay, what do I do? And she's like, you've got to find your magic. And I said, well, how do I do that? And she said, don't worry, it'll come. And she said, and when you find it, you will know. And I think at that point she might have encouraged me to hire her as my coach, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for her at that point in my life. I was still just ready to launch, and I wasn't ready to make that investment in myself. So at that meeting, I had told Marge that I was looking at an opportunity at Capital Community College to become a contractor in their marketing department for continuing ed. She's like, don't do it. Don't do it. You shouldn't do it. You're not the kind of person who wants to go back in that box, that 9 to 5 box. That's not you. And I was like, I don't know, I need money, and, I got 2 kids, and I wanted something that was, stable and substantial. The money wasn't great, but it was something. So I took it. Well, I hated it. And I lasted for about 5 months. It was a 6-month contract. I left early because the dean was just awful to work for. And I was determined that I just can't work for anybody anymore. I need to work for myself. I need to make my own hours. I need to be out in the world doing amazing things. And so when I told Marge, and she's like, see, I told you so. and at that point, I was going through some health issues, and I was in and out of the hospital emergency room. I had high blood pressure. Then I got scammed by an IRS scammer.
And all in 1 week.
And
2 times in the hospital and the scam all in 1 week. Yeah.
And I literally at that point had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Literally like screaming at the police, like, oh my God, I can't believe I fell. I didn't actually make it and put money into the Western Union, but I was at the CVS in the parking lot ready to do it. They had me so brainwashed. And to think, here I am, this woman who ran a $4.5 million company, ad agency. And my mind was just so disconnected from myself. I had no control. And so Marge reached out to me. I think I must have put something on Facebook.
Oh,
she
yes.
reached out to me and she said, okay, we need to figure out what's going on with you because something's going on. And we sat down, and that's when I brought her into my life as a consultant. She's always been a friend and just an unbelievable person in my life. So that's when I brought her in, and we really started to do a lot of work together. And so now I have a 1 year, 3 year, 5 year vision for myself. I have action plans. I have,
Kim, you're electric. Tom, can you take a look at that?
I have action plans, I have strategies, I have language, I have a plan. I'm writing a book, Split Ends, A Tale of Two Crazy Sisters. We just had a 3-hour brainstorming at my house a couple weeks ago to develop a whole plan of how I'm going to launch this book, and talked about all the next steps that we need to take. So I can't say enough about Marge and the impact on my life every single day. I am so grateful for your friendship and for your mentorship. And for those of you who don't know her and don't know what she can bring, it really is transformational. And if you're ready for it, you have to be ready for it. Just like you have to be ready to be a member of this club, you have to be ready in your life at that point in time. But when you are and you make that decision to invest in yourself, the end result is going to be 1,000 times more than you could ever expect. So with that, I welcome Marge, who is will help you shine bright and help you to be inspired. So
Thank you. Kim Peta, shining bright. Yay! Yay, yay, yay. Welcome to the Town and County Club. Welcome to my club and Mary Beth's club and Barbara's club and Robin's club and soon to be Kim's club. It's a great place. So if you're not familiar with the Town and County Club, we would be absolutely thrilled to take you on a tour afterwards. I hold my events here as well as, enjoy what the club has to offer for my own personal and professional development. It's a really incredible place. So, and Mary Beth is our president. So exciting. She's doing a great job. Very exciting. So we all contribute back to the community, which is really great. It's another really wonderful thing about the Town and County Club. Barbara serves on the communications committee with me, and I chair the Business Connections group, and I serve on the membership development committee, and will soon be the new chair of the membership development committee. So welcome to the club. We're glad to have you here. So take a deep breath. I know that for some of you, it wasn't easy getting here. There's always, kids that need to be, shuttled, plans have to be made, they have to be, yeah. Yeah, sometimes you need to find childcare, sometimes, you have events or, other things that, you were planning to attend or needed to attend that, got in the way. But health issues, whatever it might be. But I always know that when I hold an event, the people who are here need to be here for a reason. So exactly what that is when they come, I have no idea. And usually what they come for isn't necessarily what they leave with. They actually leave with more or something different that they didn't know they needed, which is really cool. So I'm so glad that you made the effort, did what you needed to do in order to be here. And I hope that you receive the blessing that you need to receive today. So I want to start with Robin and I attended a beautiful luncheon today. It was the Go Red for Women luncheon put on by the American Heart Association. I've never been to this luncheon. This is my first time in 10 years it's been going on in the Hartford area. And so a lot of you don't know this about me, but my mom died tragically of her one and only heart attack. And she was 62 years old. I'm 57. Like, I can't even fathom that 5 years from now is the age my mother was when she passed. I love my mom. But she went through life feeling that she had a black cloud over her head. She felt that good things happened to other people. They didn't happen to her. And so they didn't, right? Oh, wrong one. Oh, wait, how do I go back? I have a picture. There's my mom. That's on my wedding day. Our wedding day. This is my husband, Dom. So that's what she believed. And she retired probably about 55 or so, and then she needed to continue working, but she didn't want to keep doing what she was doing. So she tried and tried and tried to get another job. No one would hire her except Walmart. So my mom was a cashier at Walmart, and she hated her job. Every single time I talked to her, she talked about how bad it was and, who was doing this and making them do that. And of course, she knew better ways to do things. And, but no one listened to her. She had no authority, right? So she suffered through it. She was resigned to the fact that that was it for her. That's what she had to settle for. And so she did. And then she thought she had a virus. She thought she had a virus. And for a week, 6 days actually, she had virus-like symptoms, but viruses don't usually last that long. And then she thought, well, gosh, I've been out of work for 6 days. I think I got to get out of the house. I want to get back into life. So she was willing herself to feel better. So she got up Monday morning and she showered and prepared herself, drove to Walmart, parked the car, walked into the building, walked all the way to the back, grabbed her time card out of the slot, punched in the clock, and collapsed. She literally could not work there another day. She couldn't continue suffering the way she was suffering. And so that's my mom. And then a few years later, that was 2002, actually just a few months before that, my stepmom passed away. My parents were divorced, so my dad was down in North Carolina. My stepmom passed away 3 months before my mom did. Now my dad, on the other hand, was 66 years old at the time, and he was now alone. Down in North Carolina, no family members down there. It was just them. They retired. He had worked for Pratt & Whitney for 37 years. Can you imagine? Going to the same place, having the same commute. You can. For 37 years, it doesn't happen very often anymore. And you were at the state for quite a while, though. Yeah, 35. There you go. And so Judy died. And he was all alone. And he didn't want to be alone because Judy is the one that was a social director. Judy was the one who said, this is what we're doing today. And they would do it. He didn't even have to think about what he was going to eat for a meal. I mean, that was all, he got up, took a shower, got dressed, and here I am, what are we doing today? And he tagged along. And he was happy. That's what he wanted. He loved it. But then he didn't have that anymore. And he didn't know why on earth God didn't take him. Why did he take Judy? Because he can't live without Judy. So I said to him, my phone's on, scam likely. I said, Dad, we have no idea why Judy's not here, but she's not here. God took her. God didn't take you. It wasn't your time. But I can't live with this pain anymore. This is too difficult. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to think of what I need to say to my dad to get him thinking a different way. And I said, Dad, you must be here for a reason. Let's figure it out. And he said, oh, all right, well, let's think about that. So I posed another question. What have you always wanted to do that you haven't done yet? And he said, I don't know, but I'll think about it. And so he did. A few days later, he called me very excited because he remembered. He remembered something that he'd always wanted to do from his adolescence. He's 66 years old now, so this is more than 50 years ago. He wanted to do this thing, but it was never the right time. You know, he didn't have the money to do it or the ingenuity when he was younger. And then life took over, right? All the responsibilities, family, job, everything that goes with that. And then Judy was his driver, so he didn't even have to think about what he wanted to do until now. Well, I'm happy to say that he did it. Not only did he do it, but, you want to know what it is? He wanted to build a 1932 Ford hot rod. That was his dream. And he came up with every conceivable reason why he couldn't do it. I don't know where I'm going to get the parts. I don't know who I'm going to get to help me. Do you know how much money this is going to cost? Like every conceivable reason. Until I said this to him. Dad, help me to understand this. So there's something you've always wanted to do, actually since your adolescence. So for more than 50 years. But you've never had the time, you've never had the opportunity to do it, and now you do. Yes. He went online, he figured out these different ways to get the parts. The guy next door is laid off, and he's interested in cars, so he's got a guy to at least get started with, and then, find the other people. And then he said, do you know how much this is going to cost? And I said, no, how much? And he said, it's going to be about $60,000. Well, that's quite an investment. I thought maybe 30, 40, 60,000. And I said, so do you have it? And he said, of course I have it. I said, okay. You've always wanted to do this. You've found the parts. You found the people to help. You've got the money, but you just don't know if you want to spend it. And he said, I guess that's what it comes down to. And I said, Dad, I can't tell you what to do. But I'll tell you this. We have no idea how much time you have left. Mom's gone, Judy's gone. He had just been diagnosed with prostate cancer, had surgery. They got it all, or so they said. And we don't know how long you have left. But I know that if something happens to you and I end up inheriting that money, I would be so sad for you. He called me the next day and said, I wrote the first check. So for the next 18 months, it was just 18 months, he worked furiously on this. And it was the coolest thing because he'd call Dom and I and he'd say, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe who I met. You're not going to believe who's going to do this or, what this is going to look like or what that is. And, all these like really cool parts that he's finding from these people all over the country and how cool these people are that he's meeting. And he's having a ball because he's the driver now. He's the driver now. Until the cancer came back. They didn't get it all. And he had to go through chemotherapy and radiation. And unfortunately, his liver wasn't strong enough to handle it. So after just one chemo treatment, they had to stop. That was a year and a half after he and I had that first conversation. Just a year and a half. We have no idea how long, really. And so the car was only 25% of the way done. He thought it's his lifelong project, And I said, what are you going to do, Dad? They placed him in hospice care. There was nothing that could be done because, his liver was shot from the chemo. We have no idea how much time you have, but we know that there's nothing that we can do to bring you back, to stop the progression. So that was May 14th. And I said, what are you going to do? Are you going to just ditch the dream? Or are you going to figure out a way to make this happen? So he goes down to the auto parts store and he says to the guys there, hey, he's all yellow. It's written all over his face, literally. And he says, hey, I got some bad luck here. I don't know what I'm going to do. And one of the guys behind the counter said, hey, George was in earlier today. He said he just rolled a car out of his garage and he didn't have another project yet. Here's his name and number. Why don't you give him a call? Well, George came over, met my dad, talked about the project and said, oh my gosh, I would be honored to help you with this. And so he did. On Memorial Day, just 2 weeks later, we get a call, Dom and I, from my dad, and he says, you gotta hear this. And he fired up the engine. They got the engine in the car. They fired it up for the first time. And oh my gosh, if you could have heard his laugh, I wish I could duplicate it, but it was like a 6-year-old boy, just like so full of joy and, so happy and so thrilled. And I will remember that for the rest of my life. And he said, listen to this. And then I said, we've got to celebrate this. Get some seats in there, put the steering wheel on, and let's do what we can to get it done as quick as we can. And just 2 weeks later, June 12th, had a big party. All the relatives from the Northeast went down to North Carolina, including my 90-year-old grandmother. She was 90 at the time, who this was the first time that she was ever on an airplane. She came down. He gave everyone rides. It was so fun. It was the most incredible celebration. 3 days later, he couldn't get out of bed. 4 days after that, he took his last breath. He was done. He was complete. He didn't have anything more to do. There wasn't anything that he needed to live for now, because that day, not only did he fulfill that dream that he's always had, but a couple of other things happened too. One of them was, middle of the afternoon, he said, Marge, I'm getting tired. I'm going to go sit up on the porch. He said, I want you to send everyone that's at this party, and there are about 75 people, I want you to send everyone up one by one. And I did. And they went up and they sat with him for a few minutes so he could say goodbye. And he could tell them what they meant to him and how they're helping him to fulfill his dream really made him feel complete. And what a difference from my mom, who was so incomplete, and unexpressed, unfulfilled. And my mom didn't have anything. She didn't have a will. She didn't have anything organized or none of that. We had to try to figure everything out as best we could. My dad saw that and said, that's not going to be me. So he did what he needed to do and set up everything that he needed to so that it was very easy. His estate was settled within 3 months. My mom's 2.5 years. In 2007, I had the opportunity to step away from my life. Literally step away for an entire week. I was so excited. But I didn't do it on my own. A friend had to call and say, Marge, I need you. Can you come? And so I did. Luckily, she was in the south of France. So that was really great. But I was there to help her. But this is who I was then. I was a race car driver. I was speeding through life. I had just left a Fortune 100 company where I placed in the top 5% of my industry nationwide. I was mom. I was a business owner. Dom and I started a mortgage planning firm after I left the Fortune 100 company. It was incredibly successful. I had employees, had my 2 children, Dom, and all of our vendors and contacts, clients, that we interacted with all day. And I thought, well, I can go be with Julie. I have my phone. I can, do email and respond to things and, still be connected and keep things moving along, right? Well, sometimes Providence steps in and says, it's not going to happen that way. I have another plan for you. And so I forgot to pack my phone charger. I couldn't charge it. Within 24 hours, my phone was dead. I was completely disconnected. Skype had just come out. So I Skyped with Dom the first night and said, look, this is what's going on. We can't really do anything. You're going to have to handle it. And you're going to have other people handle it. So, bye. I'll see you in a week. And what was really incredible was that until then, I didn't realize how full my life was with everything that I do for other people. Void it was of me and what I needed and what I wanted. I got so caught up in my work, my responsibilities, and that's where I found my self-worth, was in all of that. So it was feeding me. I didn't realize that I'd been operating on adrenaline, that it wasn't natural energy that was pushing me through my days. I was stressed out. I was tired, I was exhausted. I was burnt out. But I didn't realize that until a few years later, actually, that was actually the state that I was in. So I'm in Provence, don't have I picked up my phone probably about 10 times, thinking that there was going to be a charge. You're just so used to it, and then finally I just left it in my room. But, we're going all around Provence, seeing these beautiful, incredible landscape and, the wonderful food and the great people. It was just really, really cool. What that did, though, was to wake me up, to snap me out of it and say, Marge, you don't have any of this in your life. You don't have this leisure. You don't have the opportunity to you don't take the opportunity to go do what you want to do. You're always doing what needs to be done. That week changed me completely. Completely. I took a look at all the things in my life that totally stressed me out, decided I don't want these things anymore. I want these things, and I would love a whole bunch more of these things. And I vowed that week that I was going to make that happen, that I was going to figure out how to make this shift. But one of those big stressors was this career and this lifestyle that I built up that was keeping me very busy and was providing a great living for me and my family, but it wasn't fulfilling me anymore. And I knew that my time was up with it, but I had no idea what I was going to shift into. And I had the thought while I was there, if today were my last day, would I be happy with the way I would be leaving things? Would I be happy with what I have achieved, what I have accomplished, how I have, been in my relationships, the impact that I would be leaving? What impact would I be leaving? By the end of that week, this vision popped into my head of my new life. And it scared me to death. I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about that as we go through. So my question to you is, whoops, wrong one. I got to go back. I went out of order. If today were your last day, would you be happy with where your life is right now? And if the answer is no, guess what? You can change it. You can change it. Would you be proud of your legacy? I really hadn't thought about legacy until just the whole idea of it. I always thought legacy was the money that you'd be leaving behind, because that's what legacy had always, how it had always been referenced, in conversations and, just, in general. I always thought that it was financial. I didn't know that it was different than that until my mom died and I saw the legacy that she left. And my dad, what was really cool about my dad's last 2 years, not only that, he did, complete this dream that he'd always wanted, but he also, every single person that he came in contact with and shared that story with was changed. Because they saw it's never too late. It's never too late to go for your dreams. And the other thing is, when those big obstacles, including mortality, pop up in front of you, you get to decide, am I going to let this stop me, or am I going to keep going anyway? He could have said, time's up. Time's up on the project, time's up on me, that's it, end of game. Cancer, you win. But he didn't. He said, no, I'm not done yet. And he put it off until he was. How powerful is that? So would you be proud of your legacy? I knew that there was an awful lot more that I wanted to teach my children. And I realized that I'd been so busy doing, that I wasn't being with them and sharing with them what I wanted them to know, what I wanted to gift them before my time was up. My relationship with my children then was completely different than it is now. And I'm very happy to say that we have very deep, beautiful relationship. Both of us do with both of our children, which is really great. And I really didn't know that I mattered. I did great things for my clients, you know, and I had that, but I mean, other than that, what? You know, there lies Marge Pacini. Who is Marge Pacini? You know, it really got me thinking. Big questions. Okay, I'm gonna move you out of here. My mom. That was me. Career and status, yes, I was happy with it. Relationships, no. Legacy, no. I felt like I hadn't meant enough and I hadn't mattered enough yet. So today, you're going to learn what's getting in the way of stopping you from shining bright. 5 ways you've been unconsciously discounting your value and blocking your own success. We do it unconsciously. We don't even know that we're doing it, and I'm going to reveal those to you. And also, a simple life-enhancing technique that will increase your authenticity, your power, and your influence on demand. And I heard someone referring to this a little bit earlier. So my clients know what that is. And how to reignite your passion and drive to go for your dreams, regardless of how impossible that might seem right now, and clarity on your best next steps towards launching your true legacy. I have so much that I would love to share with you, but we have a very limited amount of time. So know that I'm going to give you the opportunity at the end of the program to ask questions and to schedule appointments with me if you want to take it further. Okay, so Oscar. Why is Oscar there? Oscar. I know why Oscar's there. Okay. So there are these roles that women play in our lives. Every one of us play these 5 roles that I'm going to share with you. These are the ones that get in the way of you shining bright, discount your value, and block your success. You perform these roles so masterfully, you could get an Oscar for them. That's what Oscar's for. So what are they? Well, the first one is the race car driver. The race car driver speeds through life. Anyone know who this race car driver is? Yeah. So, but this was me too. So clients say that, you know, Kim's particular description was, you know, I'm white knuckling my way through life. You know, holding on so tight to that steering wheel, like pushing the car to go because, you know, you're running behind, you're late, you're going from this to that, to that, to that, to that. And life is just, oops, really crazy. Did I go back? Oh, how did I do that, Tom? Oh, I can use that. That's how all right, cool. I thought I had to click. It's easier than I thought. Yeah, there's a roller thing. didn't have a clicker, so we had to use a mouse. So the race car driver. Now, this is an energy that who has not, raise your hand if you're not familiar with race car energy. Okay, everyone is, good. All right, well, the race car driver, energetically, she shows up rushing to get things done, to hit her deadlines, to get where she needs to be, do one more thing before she breaks away from her work, just like, kids are over here saying, Mom, 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 wait, just one more thing. And like even she knew 30 minutes ago that she had to use the bathroom, right? But she's like, one more thing. That was me. That was me. Physically, she's anxious and stressed. Her tummy's tight all the time. Her hands are tightly gripping the wheel. Another one of my clients describes it as, I feel like I'm pedaling really hard, trying to catch up to my life. Like she's always feeling that she's behind. She's always speeding through life, running from responsibility to responsibility, often on the edge of her seat, pretending that she's not. Because this is just normal. Takes breaks only when she absolutely positively must. And she shallow breathes. Does anyone know what that is, shallow breathing? Yeah, shallow breathing is breathing just from the top of your lungs. Well, your lungs are about this big. And when you shallow breathe, you're not filling your lungs. And if you're not filling your lungs, guess what you're doing? You're depriving yourself of oxygen that you need to perform at an optimal level. She hardly ever rests and collapses into bed at night. Who can relate to the race car driver energy? Everyone? No? Oh, good for you. Good. All right. We'll get you. There'll be one. Okay. This energy will lead you to crash, literally. The first time I crashed was 2006. I was in the hospital for 11 days. I got home from the hospital, and my husband was so stressed out because I was in the hospital that he crashed. 2 days after I got home with a script for a full month of rest, no work for a whole month. 2 days. I crashed again in 2007, which is when I was in Provence, and then I crashed again in 2009. I haven't crashed since. I'm insurable again. Spirit talks to us in 3 ways. I talk to my clients about this. So when you get an idea for something and you're like, oh, that's a really great idea. And then the race car driver just keeps driving. Because there's all of these things that they have to do. And it was just a whisper. But then the race car driver's like, oh, I'm so stressed out, I need to make these changes. And then Spirit's like, hello, and start shouting. Start shouting. Get your attention. But the race car driver's still racing through life. So it usually takes a Mack truck for the race car driver to get the message that something needs to happen. Kim, you got 3 Mack trucks in 1 week.
I did.
Right? But
and I survived it.
You did. Exactly. Thank God.
I know.
Thank God. Jeez, just imagine what the world would be missing out on. Seriously, you're going to hear about what Kim's up to in a couple of minutes. So what does a race car driver need? Pit stops. Frequent pit stops. You're a high performance person, you need high octane. And that means identifying and increasing your energy generators and identifying and decreasing, eliminating your energy zappers. And really being present enough to even feel them and to understand them is huge for the race car driver. Oops. I heard someone reference this. I renamed it for tonight, the 2-minute pit stop strategy. So the 2-minute pit stop strategy is something that the race car driver can do anytime, anywhere, whether they're in front of people or not, in order to come back to themselves, stop the insanity, and get connected and grounded and powered up again. My clients know it as the 5-5-5 breathing method. And I named it that because it's easy for them to remember, because there are 3 components that are 5 seconds each, so 5-5-5. But it could be called the miracle breathing method, or the, wow, I'm connected to my authentic power method, or, whatever. Tonight I'm calling it the 2-minute pit stop strategy. It's a very simple thing to do. I'm going to lead you all through it. Haven't done it in a while, have you? No.
We were doing it at the table.
Oh, good.
But John told us to wait because it was part of the program.
Oh, yes, he knew. Yes, he helped me with the PowerPoint. Okay. So this is something that I do before I get on the phone with a client. This is something that I went in the other room and did before I came up here and started talking. It's something that I do whenever I feel stressed, when I need to disconnect from all of that and reconnect with myself. It's so easy, it's so simple. I also use it before I have to have a difficult conversation. It's a really key time to do it. When you get the notice from the IRS and you're like, what? Right? 5-5-5 breathing, pick up the phone. Oh, you don't have to pay that $1,000 fine. Thank you. It works. All right, so you ready? All right, so what I want you to do, you can put your wine down, is I want you to sit with your feet planted firmly on the ground. It's going to take 2 minutes. I want you to have a straight back. And close your eyes. Close your eyes, because when you close your eyes, you disconnect from all of this other stimulation that's out there. And I want you to just put your hands where they can be free to hang, or be, where there's no pressure in them at all. Just relax. You can roll your shoulders. You can roll them to the front. You can roll them to the back. You can roll them one at a time. Release that stress. A lot of stress in the top of our necks. In our necks and the top of our backs. And then drop your chin to your chest. And roll your chin over to one shoulder. Roll it back down to center and over to the next. Loosen up that neck. Doesn't that feel good? When you feel loose, bring your neck back to your head back upright. Align your back, your neck and your back. You're going to breathe in for the count of 5, hold for the count of 5, and release for the count of 5. And I'll lead you through that. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Release, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do it on your own a few times. And on the in-breath, I want you to concentrate on bringing the air in fully to your lungs. And how you know it is, or that you're doing that, is that your abdomen is actually extending out. So if you need to, you can put your hand on your abdomen to double check that. You should be feeling really calm, really centered, and really present. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So what does this exercise do? It's a simple one. You can do it. You can do it in your car if you're like rushing around and I need to catch my breath for a minute. You can do it anywhere. But what it does is it actually opens up your third chakra. Your third chakra is located right here. It's between your belly button and your diaphragm. This is the energy center in your body that is referred to as the seat of the soul, also called the solar plexus, and it's where your core power is located. When this center is open, you are your most influential because you're your most authentic. And when you're that, you are your most powerful. To say the people pleaser has a hard time saying no, right? So energetically, she says yes all the time. She says yes when she wants to say yes. She says yes when she doesn't want to say yes, right? When she's angry with herself, she still says yes. Even when her intuition tells her no, she says yes. And when she's absolutely exhausted from all the things that she says yes to, she still says yes. Physically, she feels overwhelmed and stressed. No surprise there, right? Her tummy feels unsettled. She's always rushing to meet deadlines. And just because you're a race car driver doesn't mean that you wouldn't necessarily be a people pleaser, okay? These typically, people I think people are going to be very familiar with all 5 that I'm sharing today. She feels taken advantage of. She feels taken advantage of because so many people ask her to do things and she says yes. But it's because she doesn't say no. She has great ideas but feels that she's the one that needs to deliver on them. So she's doing even more. She can't just toss an idea out there and, give it to people to go and run with. She needs to still be part of it. She's selfless and will give pretty much whatever is needed. Is there anyone present who does not feel a connection to the people pleaser energy? Raise your hand. No. Okay, we got the whole room.
No, but I will say this. My daughter says no to everything.
Oh, good for her.
But it's almost weird. Like, I don't know where she comes. She says, no matter what, before I start, no. And to everybody else, too, no.
Good for her. Wow.
I have.
That's fantastic. Good. 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 Fantastic. All right. Okay, so 2 stories. So I put the pictures here to remind me. So one is a client, and one thing that that she needs to work into her life is regular exercise, but she's having a really hard time doing it. So we went over, it's one of her priorities, but she's not doing it. So, let's talk about that. What's getting in your way? Well, the best time for me to work out is at 7 o'clock in the morning. I want to do that 3 days a week. Okay, great. And she wants to start working at 9. She's self-employed. Okay, so 7 o'clock in the morning, so you can do your workout, come home, shower, have breakfast, and start work. Perfect. But she couldn't do it. She couldn't make it happen. What's getting in your way? And she said, well, her partner likes to go to bed at 11 o'clock. She would have to go to bed at 10 o'clock in order to be able to get up at 7, to get up at 6 in order to be there for 7, for all of that to work, because she needs her 8 hours. Okay, so help me to understand this. So this is something that's a priority for you, but your bedtime for your partner's getting in the way of that. That's when he wanted to go to bed. So she said, fine, that's when we go to bed, even though that's not the time that works for her to go to bed in order to achieve what she wants to achieve. So we finally worked out a conversation that she could have with her partner to talk to him about the possibility of going to bed early on the nights, an hour earlier on the nights that she wants to work out the following morning in order to accommodate her. She never even thought of the possibility of having that question, of having that conversation. That's the people pleaser. She doesn't. She's selfless. She doesn't think of herself. She's always thinking of someone else. This is Mary Ciraldi. Mary Ciraldi, real estate. You may remember her name from Berman and Russo. She was at Westledge in Windsor that then turned into DeWolf Morgan. I worked with her when it was Westledge. She was a top performer for Westledge forever. Frank and I actually did. Cherie used to work at a law firm that I did a lot of business with. They were the best law firm east of the river when I was in the mortgage industry. And so Frank came and did a seminar with me at their office. She was great. She was absolutely amazing. Phenomenal business referral partner. And I had my son, Michael. And then all of a sudden, my phone stopped ringing at night and on the weekends. Now I was, call me anytime, you gotta make hay when the sun shines, right? Be available, real estate. There's anything that you're in sales, you've got to be available all the time, because if you don't pick up that phone, they're gonna call the next person. That's how I operated until my son Michael was born. Maybe like 3 weeks after he's born, Mary and I are having a conversation. I'm like, Mary, are you giving your business to someone else because I'm not getting calls on nights or weekends? And she said, Marge, we had a conversation in the office and we decided that you're a new mom and it would be really rude of us to call you on nights, during the nights and weekends, that we're only going to call you during normal business hours. I was like, whoa, right? Like, how incredible is that they valued me and my contribution to their clients, to their business, enough to value me more than I value me, right? I mean, how incredible is that? When that happened, I realized that I didn't need to be available all the time. And I didn't need to be everything to everyone. That the people that valued me, I valued, and we could have a great relationship during business hours. My goodness, did my life change. How incredible, because of Mary Ciraldi. Until then, I was a people pleaser. It took me a while. I did make the shift. So what does a people pleaser need? She needs to speak her truth, because she wants to say no, but she's having a hard time doing it. She needs to learn how to eloquently say no when she wants and needs to say no. So usually the reason that she doesn't say no is that she doesn't have that training. She doesn't have those skills to have that conversation because she's always said yes. It's really fascinating. And she needs to be okay with not saying yes or offering an alternative that's more suitable to her. That's actually the biggest one. Because you could say maybe if. So she needs to learn negotiation. The perfectionist. I call her the mistress of control. Energetically, she knows details. She knows them inside and out. Like a laser, she zeroes in on every speck of dust and every cobweb. She sees everything that's out of place. She's impeccably organized. She's meticulously presented. She has very high standards. She's masterful at juggling her own spinning plates as well as everyone else's, right? And she's an incredible micromanager because she's caught up in all of the details. But physically, her body's like stiff. She has a hard time relaxing. She has a hard time loosening up and even laughing sometimes. She often appears uptight and rigid to others, and she has a really hard time asking for help. So delegate? No, because someone else is going to do it. Someone else is going to mess it up. She's going to end up doing it anyway, right? Yeah.
I'm like half there, half not there.
Yeah. Who can relate to the perfectionist? No. Yeah. 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 Good. Yep. Yep. Trisha's raising her hand. Usually it's a very, we're going to move on to another one that you are too. Very highly. Exactly. Exactly. Trisha's a CPA for those of you who don't know that yet. So, perfectionism. I know you're looking at that picture like, what on earth is that picture? Well, yeah, this picture was taken in Provence. Highly transformational week for me. So we're traveling all over Provence, and Marge I am like a magnet being drawn to every single imperfection you could imagine. And I'm walking up to it and I'm like, huh, look at that. Like, it's the silliest thing because there was a little tiny drip that was coming from this little like tube that was in the mouth of this statue that was on the side of this building. And that one little drip that was happening, it was just like, drop, drop. It created this moss that looked like a beard. It was the funniest looking thing. So that's all moss down at the bottom. Well, I'm like, Marge, why are you so attracted and taking pictures of silly things like this? And the Provençal blue shutters, like, they're everywhere. But they're peeling. And they're chipped. And they're not doing anything about it. Right? If that were on your house, they would be scraped. They would be you'd have your wire brush out. You'd have the bucket of bleach and water and cleaning up that fountain, right? That's what we do. But not them. They're like, why would we do that? That's beautiful. That's character. That's ambiance, right? That's what this whole area, people come to see this stuff because it's there. They accept it. They accept it. And it made me realize I spend a lot of time, effort, and energy in my life trying to get rid of those things. They don't care. They accept it. And it's even what attracts people, right? So all these flaws that we think we have, it's what people find endearing about us, just like I found these things endearing about Provence. This is Julie, by the way. This is who I went to visit. She was an exchange student that Dom and I hosted. At this time, it was 6 years prior. She was 25 years old. Awesome. So what does the perfectionist need? The perfectionist needs acceptance. The copycat. I love this one. Copycat. You are you, and they are they. You're you, and they are they. You're you. And there's nothing wrong with you. There's so much that's absolutely incredible about you. But you don't see that because you see them. And you think that they're better than you, but they're not. So you try to copy them. So you look outside yourself for guidance. Well, goals, dreams. I did that the whole up until 2007. I was chasing a dream, and that was I wanted to be a millionaire. And I did everything in my power to make that happen, and I got there and said, this is it. I don't feel any different than I did before I did this. What is this all about? Well, you worked your ass off. You were really stressed. Is it worth it? No, it wasn't. But that was the vision of success that had been ingrained in me. So they pattern their lives off the lives of others. They ask others for advice. They're externally sourced. They don't have, well, we're going to get to it. Physically, she feels unfulfilled and empty. She works hard trying to catch up. She works hard trying to make things work. So she's a pusher because, she's got these big things that she wants to do, but they're not aligned with who she is authentically. So it's hard to make them work. She has a hard time measuring up, always sees herself as less than, feels like a fake, a fraud, or an imposter. And she suffers from a bad case of comparisonitis. She's always looking to other people for, how am I measuring up? How am I measuring up? How am I measuring up? Who can relate to the copycat? Trying to keep up with the Joneses, it's that kind of energy. The copycat is actually the most difficult to modify. We have been trained since birth to follow directions, right? Follow the patterns, follow the signs. There's a right way to do things. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to want. So we lose ourselves a lot because we're not asked, well, what is it that you want? What is it that you want? This is what you're supposed to do, so you do it. I posted on Facebook a couple weeks ago. There was this doctor. Well, he's not doctor anymore. Wait, what's his name? What's his name? What's his name? It had to do with this, Slow-Mo. His name is Slow-Mo. Oh my gosh. So, I loved his story. So Slow-Mo was a top surgeon in North Carolina somewhere. And, he became a doctor because his parents told him you need to be a doctor. And then, he had this big career and, he had, these crazy expensive cars and, Lamborghinis and big houses and, just all of the trappings of having a really successful business, but he felt empty. And he saw a guy, 93-year-old guy, I think, in the cafeteria line at the hospital. And he looked at the man and he said, I'm going to ask him a question. He said, I'm going to ask him, what advice, you're 93 years old, what advice do you have for me? And the 93-year-old said, do what you like. And he thought, do what I like. And that stuck with him for a while. And then finally, he had it. You know, he hit that enough point, and he said, I'm done. I like to rollerblade. So he sold everything. He moved to Venice Beach, California. Uh-huh. And he rollerblades, but he doesn't rollerblade like my son rollerblades, you know, with, you know, 2 skates. He does that to get going, and then he goes up on one skate, and he goes like this, and he just glides down the boardwalk in Venice Beach. And he loves that. He's like, I feel like I'm flying. I'm so free. I've never felt this free in my life before. And so they did this mini documentary on him. And in the area, he's known as slow-mo because he's just gliding like he's moving in slow motion. So this was slow-mo. Slow-mo led the copycat life. I should have a picture of him here. Oops.
You're giving us a good visual thing.
Yeah, good. So, wait a minute. The copycat. Why is this here? The copycat. Oh, I know why it's here. Okay. So, I put these visual cues up for myself so I could remember where I was. All right. So I realized that I was living a copycat life, right? That I was told, I was taught, I was trained, I was brainwashed that this is what success looks like. I made it happen, and it's not what I thought success was going to feel like. And I realized that I was living that type of life. And so I thought, there's got to be more than this. I'm exhausted. There's got to be more. It's got to be better. Let's figure it out. And I thought, what do I love? What do I really love? And there was one thing that came up. And it was that I love having deep conversations with people. Shallow conversation, I can't handle. Small talk, I can't handle it. I am so bad at it. Robin, you were so masterful networking today. I'm like, oh my God, just tag me along whenever, you got to have a good networking partner because I just can't handle it. But love it, love it, love it. So I love having those deep conversations. I love finding out from people, like, what is it that lights you up, Like, we would be on vacation. I remember we were in Hawaii, and I loved having conversations with our servers and bartenders. Oh my gosh, the conversations we had were so cool. And there are all these people who said, been there, done that, I'm out of here, I'm moving to Hawaii, and I'm a bartender now, and I've never been happier in my life. I surf during the day, and I bartend at night, and, I'm 60 years old, and life has never been more beautiful. And I just had so much awe for them. Like, really? Like, you can just do that? That's so cool to me, right? So I love having those deep conversations. And I did that with my clients, Gail knows in the mortgage industry. It wasn't just, oh, so you're buying a house, you need a mortgage, okay, here you go. It was, tell me about this house. Tell me about what you're looking forward to. Tell me about Tell me about that feeling you had when you first drove up to it. You know, did you feel like this, like when you're driving in the driveway, did you feel like this is the house? Or, you know, was it when you walked in the kitchen or the bedroom or you saw the yard? Like, I wanted to know those things. And I wanted to be sure that not only were they set up with the financing they needed to buy this house, but I asked all sorts of questions that other people don't ask about their financial situation, because I wanted to be sure that not only was this mortgage satisfying their short-term need to finance the home, but that it was also integrating into their life plan. And my return client rate was one of the highest in the whole country. Over 60% of my business was repeat and referral business, which was really incredible. So that's what I love doing, and that's why that rate was so high. What on earth could I do for a new job that would involve this, right? So that was my first thing. Then I found my magic. And I found this picture of me too when I was going through photos. Do you know when this was taken? When, I know. Isn't it funny? So, well, this was probably, oh my gosh, this had to be about 10 years ago. So some of you may know or remember Mary Jones. She had a radio show on WDRC. And Mary Jones asked me to be on her Believe team. I was one of 4 people, so it was me and a fashion stylist, Debbie Wright, an etiquette expert, Karen Thomas, and a fitness person, Carolyn, I can't think of her last name, Phillips, thank you. So it was the 4 of us, and we did these different events and things, and we had a great time. Well, we were speaking at a foster, it was for foster kids, foster teenage girls. And it was an event that was getting them all equipped for junior prom. It was a lot of fun. So I taught them my 5-5-5 breathing method, and I taught them something else. So essentially the talk was how to be your own fairy godmother, and how to make your dreams come true type of thing. So Kim talked earlier about what her magic is. Every single one of us is equipped with an incredible skill that is a transformation that people need. They want, and they're willing to invest for. So that thing is energetic. It's something that you do in your conversations. It's something that you do in your interactions. It's something that you do through the work that you do. So you deliver it through the work that you do. And once you know what is underneath that, then you get to decide how you want to do that best. You can do it as an avocation. You can do it as a vocation. You can do it. You can do it when you go to the library. You can do it when you're at the bar talking to a bartender. Like, this is an energy that you launch into automatically without even blinking. It's auto response. You're automatically programmed to do this. You have been honing your abilities to be able to do this your entire life, and you do it masterfully. And once you uncover that, like we did with Kim, from chaos and uncertainty to peace, harmony, and prominence, is that? Yeah. Everyone's is so different. So for me, it's helping people to go from feeling compromised or discounted to being highly valued and shining bright like a diamond, which is why the event's called ShineBright. So people usually, when they start out with me, they're feeling overstressed. They're feeling like, I don't know. I don't know what the opportunity is for me. I have no idea what it is. And they feel that their life experience it's compromised in some way, and they're living, their life experience is less than they know it can be, but they don't know what they want it to be or how they could even make that happen. Like Susan, you know, when we started working together, her thing was so big, she wanted to run, and you did for a few years, ran the other direction, was like, not me, I can't do that, are you kidding me? Yeah, yep. And she considered settling for a part-time job just to get her the revenue that she wanted, that she needed to be comfortable. Do you regret it?
Nope.
Awesome. Awesome, yes. She's been shining bright like a diamond for a while. So what does a copycat need? The copycat needs authenticity. The copycat needs to understand who they are because they don't see themselves clearly. This is one of my most favorite paintings. It's mine. I did it. I actually took a group of clients, oh my gosh, probably about 5 years ago now, over to Muse Paint Bar when they first opened. And I had a private party, and I picked this for them all to paint because in the work that I do with my clients, they see themselves one way, right? But they're actually so much more than that. So they might see themselves this way and not see themselves as fully as they truly are. So we all did our own self-portraits. It was pretty cool. But illustrative, does that make sense? Is that a word? Of what this is, of authenticity. It's understanding who you are, knowing your true and distinct value, and being connected to your dreams and visions for your career and your life. Oh, the next one is, whoops, the analyst. So the analyst, Trisha's chuckling already. She's like, I know this one's me. The analyst is always asking why? Why? Trying to figure things out. Why?
My daughter.
Why is this happening? Yep. So energetically, she's rationalizing, she's weighing the pros and cons, she's preparing to launch or act. Preparing is the key word here. Preparing, she's reluctant to make a decision, second guessing herself, and often experiences buyer's remorse. Physically, she feels anxious, stressed, confused, and exhausted. Often she feels paralyzed because she's stuck in analysis paralysis, right? Her head spins with indecision. She stays in one place. She's usually angry with herself. She's not nearly as productive as she can be or as she wants to be. Who can relate to the analyst energy? Yeah. Everyone has this to some extent. That's her, running on the hamster wheel, not going anywhere. Yeah. Why? Because why is the wrong question. If you keep asking why, that's what's keeping you there. Why? So what are you doing? You're perpetuating that state of figuring it out, right? What you think about, you bring about. So if you're constantly asking, why is this happening? Why am I stuck here? Why aren't I moving forward? Why aren't I motivated? Right? Stuck. You're like more cemented every time you ask that. Instead, ask why not. Last day in Provence, Julie and I are sitting on this seawall in the beautiful town of Cassis. Oh, there we go. You're up there in a minute. Beautiful seawall in the town of Cassis. It was just stunning. Isn't that so beautiful? Well, this, I can't remember what it's called, but there are these lights down at the bottom. And for like 20 miles out, it's lit up at night with these beautiful like purple light shine on it. Oh, and this whole area is just like this big beacon. So you're driving for miles and you can see it all lit up in the distance. And oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. So that was during the day. We're sitting on the seawall, like literally sitting on a seawall for hours and hours and hours. It was so beautiful. We didn't feel, the discomfort of the seawall. It was a very rocky beach, so it would have been the same if we sat down there. And we're just looking at that view and this view. And have you ever been in a place where it's just so beautiful that when you look at it and you're just like, oh, this is so incredible. And with every breath you take, like you're just like breathing in and it's just soothing your soul, and it's just so majestic. It's just so beautiful, so peaceful, so serene, so spectacular. Well, that's the way that day was for us. And maybe it's because I had such a great time with Julie and I'd taken myself through this crazy transformation that was happening while I was spending time with her. So it's kind of like, spinning in the background the whole time that we were there. And all of a sudden, I gasped and I jumped. And Julie said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine, I think." And she says, what's going on? I'm like, "Julie, this picture just popped in my head. And it's disconcerting." And she said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, "Okay, well, it was me standing on a big stage, engaging and inspiring thousands of people." And she looked at me and she's like, "I can see that. What's wrong with that?" I'm like, "What do you mean you can see that? What's wrong with that? How could I possibly do that?" I said, "I can't even talk to people around a conference room table without sweating." And she's like, "Marge, like, are you crazy?" I'm like, "Julie, what would I have to say that would matter?" This was 2007. I had no idea what I could possibly say that would matter. And she said, she's 25 years old at the time, she said, "Marge," and she's a photographer, "look at this view. Do you know how many photographers have stood here at the same view and photographed it? Not one of those photographs looks the same. What an artist does is to take the ordinary, imprint it with their personality, and create something extraordinary." She said, "You don't need to know what you're going to say, but whatever you're going to say doesn't have to be invented. It could be something that's been said already. It doesn't have to be original, but it will be because you're going to say it in a different way." And I thought, that's interesting. Okay. Now, old Marge, before Julie said that, would have said, "Oh, no way, not possible, can't happen," because I could barely have a conversation with people. I mean, I could speak with people if I were sitting down around the conference table, but if I were the that had to present my thoughts, my ideas, forget about it. Forget about it. So instead, I didn't push it away. I said, "Okay, I'll sit with this. I'll let it marinate and we'll see what happens." So instead of saying, why did I get this? What is this all about? How could it possibly be? And, keep spinning on that wheel, or saying, why me, right? you know what? Why not? Why not? And why not me? Those are the right questions to ask. Why not? Why not me? So I'll go back. So that leads me to resistance. Resistance pops up. And resistance is interesting because we think we're being reasonable, like going to work for Gateway Community College. Capital Community College. You know, we think we're being reasonable. We're taking care of our safety and our security, and we're just like running into this trap. Or, you know, just you ran so far away from it, you were selling an upscale women's clothing line, and men's, and you were doing J. Hilburn too. Yeah. And considering getting a part-time job in nonprofit. Yeah, to give yourself some contribution and some meaning. But that's what happened. She already knew that she had this incredible program that would help. How many people suffer?
Well, 30 million.
30 million.
Another 50 million, I don't know.
Right. 30 million people know that they suffer from acid reflux. She can help them get rid of it naturally. Because those drugs, it was just revealed, cause cancer. Yeah. So if you think you're going to go to the doctor and get a prescription for acid reflux, just be on it for a short time, but learn what you need to learn in order to be off it. And Susan's the one to help you to do that. So 30 million people, 30 million people. Know that that's her market, 30 million people. But it was so big that it's so hard to even wrap your head around the fact that you can have that level of impact. And there are 50 million people that suffer from it that don't even know they have it, because there's this kind of acid reflux that's called silent acid reflux. That all this other bad stuff has to happen for people to realize that they have it. So resistance pops up. You know, my dad, when he, you know, the chemo, he couldn't respond to it. That was resistance. It's like, okay, time for you to give up, you know. And he said no. But that's all resistance wants, is for you to look it in the eye and say, hell no, you're not stopping me. I'm doing this anyway. And then it disappears. It disappears. It's the craziest thing, right? So, yes, resistance. So this is my cue. So I got to talk about resistance, I got to talk about Susan, and then I have to talk about the illusion. All right, so where am I? Oh, I'm going back, sorry. Here we are. Okay. So at first, when that vision popped in my head, I thought, why would I be getting this vision? This is the craziest thing. Like this doesn't even compute. This has like nothing to do with me and who I am right now, other than it's something different to do, but there's no way I want to do that. And why me? Like, why me? I'm not even comfortable talking to a group of people and sharing my thoughts, and I'm on a stage engaging and inspiring thousands of people. But after Julie shared what she shared with me, I thought, why not? And why not me? Those are the questions that you want to ask. Henry Ford said one of my favorite quotes: whether you think you can do a thing or you can't, you're right. This is such a controller, such a controller. If you think you can't do something, or you think something's not possible, it's never going to happen. Never, no matter how hard you try, it's not going to happen. No matter how hard anyone else tries, it's not going to happen. Because you've made it so. So the analyst needs to make a decision and to courageously commit to it, especially when it feels right but isn't logical. That's huge. Because if you feel that it's right in your body, then it's right. Because your brain doesn't know. Because this thing up here is a big protector. This is your fear center. It's always strategizing, it's always driving you to avoid crashes, to avoid, bumps and bruises and obstacles. And it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand your heart, what your heart needs. It doesn't understand what your soul needs. Because it's not rational. It's not logical. It's completely different. We actually have 3 engines. So we have our intellectual engine that most of us use all the time, especially if we're highly analytical, right? So, people who are in leadership positions, people who are, president, CEO, CFO, COO, CIO, all of those like really technical, analytical type positions, CPAs, a lot of C's, doctors, people that are highly analytical, they spend most of their time up here and they don't use the other 2 engines. So you have an emotional engine, which is your heart. And then you also have your spiritual engine, which is, it's your soul, it's your life's calling, it's your magic. So those 3 engines need to be firing together in order for you to live the life that you want to live. Another one of my favorite quotes. Have you ever had a time where you made a decision that wasn't a logical decision at all, but you knew it was the right decision and you did it, and somehow everything just worked out perfectly and probably even better than you hoped it would? It's because you probably did this. You were fully committed. Until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issue from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance, which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. William H. Murray. If you just write the first line and then his name and Google it, the quote will come up. It's a fabulous quote. It's really one of my favorites. This has happened for me time and time again in my life. So I got out of the hospital the second time, 2007. I had Crohn's disease. 2006, I was in the hospital with Crohn's disease. A year later, 2007, my doctor says, I might need to put you back in. And I'm like, no. Like, this doesn't make any sense to me. I've had it for over 20 years. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't understand it. I don't want it. And I've had it. I am going to find a way to get rid of it. And she said, I'm really doing everything I know to do for you. And I said, I know you are. I trust that, but I feel like there's an answer because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me. I'm going to find it. And I decided that was it. I was done. And I had no idea how. No idea how I was going to do it. A couple weeks later, I'm having lunch with a girlfriend, and she was telling me that she was out in LA visiting a friend, and she'd had this GYN issue for years. And her friend said, you know, why don't you go to my doctor while you're here? So she went to her doctor, and the doctor gave her a protocol. She's had this problem for 6 years. I don't even remember what it was. This doctor gave her a protocol. Within 6 weeks, everything was all cleaned up. Really? Like, how does that happen? And I said, you know, I've had Crohn's disease for 20 years. It doesn't make any sense to me. And she said, well, you know, maybe you could go to LA and go to this doctor. And I thought, that's an interesting idea. I had a business trip coming up in a couple months that was in LA. So I called, made an appointment, went to this doctor. And she didn't end up helping me in the way I had hoped she helped me. But she said one thing that gave me an incredible amount of hope. She said, what do you think about the idea that maybe you don't have Crohn's disease after all? And I'm like, yes! Like, I feel like, you know, I read about it, and yeah, I have the symptoms, but, you know, all the things that they talk about, you know, why people have it, or you know, possible reasons why people could have it, and, you know, how it affects them. It doesn't affect me like it affects these other people, and, you know, I mean, it was affecting me, you know, pretty considerably at some times in my life, but, you know, I was lucky it was only at certain times, and some people live like that all the time. I couldn't imagine. So she gave me that little bit of hope. And within a couple of years, still committed, still holding on to it, I was connected to this woman that I didn't want to have anything to do with. And she helped me get rid of Crohn's disease. So this part up here was like, stay away from her. Didn't trust her. It was really interesting. I attended an event. I was out in, shocking, I was out in San Francisco, and she was attending. She got up on stage to speak. She ran a segment of the program, and I repelled her energy. I could not hear a single word she spoke. It didn't come to me. It couldn't come to me. I couldn't receive it. It was like I had this shield that went down. Couldn't receive her. And then I went back 2 months later for another program. How are we doing on time? Oh, you're kidding. Okay. All right, I'll wrap up. So, Kim, thank you. Thank you so much. So, 2 months later, she's there again. She's the first person. Like, I ignored her that whole first time. 2 months later, she's the first person to see me, comes up, Marge, how are you? So glad you're back. Gave me a hug, and I'm like, for a second. And I thought, Marge, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, you don't treat people like this. This isn't you. What are you doing? And I thought, it's not me. Lynn, how are you? So good to see you again. You know, we didn't get a chance to get to know each other when we were here a couple months ago. I'd love to have dinner with you one night. That woman changed my life. That woman helped me to cure myself of Crohn's disease. Thank you, Kim. So no matter how impossible something seems, it's possible. If you have the idea for it, and if you commit to it, that is what gives it possibility. And if you believe in that possibility and you commit to that, anything can happen. All right, that's the end of that program. Fabulous. Okay, so, Give me just a second.